short and snappy. So, why do we think that Christians receive the same reward in heaven? And why am I asking this question? It's because the Bible seems to give two different answers to the question. One is yes, and the other is no. Yes, Christians receive the same reward. No, they don't. How do we square that circle? And that's what this video is about. So the reason I say the Bible says, yes, Christians do receive the same reward, is because there is a parable that Jesus tells where there are a bunch of workers, and they all receive the same wage. So there are workers who are hired at the beginning of the day. They work all day long, and they are received exactly the same wage as workers who are hired at the last hour of the day. And those workers who were hired at the beginning of the day are really upset. They're like, this isn't fair. We have worked all day long and we only get, in this case, a denarius, like a day's wages. And Jesus makes the point that, yes, they all receive the same reward because it's grace. It's not about what we do, not about merit, but about grace. And that's why we all end up receiving the same salvation. And instead of explaining the concept of grace or getting bogged down in those details, that's that passage. I'll just move on to the other passage, which basically says, no, we don't receive the same reward. And that passage is the parable of the talents, I think, in Matthew 25. And that parable tells us, I need to stop scratching my neck. That parable tells us that there are people who had different, not talents of like singing and dancing and like, oh, I'm so talented, but literal talents of gold, which is like a quantity of gold. And it'll be on the screen or something here. And they invested those talents differently. And one who was given 10 talents made 10 talents more. One who's given 5 talents made 5 talents more. The one who made 1 talent or had 1 talent just buried it and didn't do anything with it. And at the end of the parable, instead of focusing on the one who had 1 talent, let's just say it didn't go well for him at all. And it is pretty sobering what happens. The one who had 5 talents and the one who had 10 talents receive different rewards there. Now, I understand this is kind of like a how many angels can you balance on the head of a pin kind of question. And I'm not going to pretend like it's not more niche. But it is strange that they receive different rewards. And you're like, because the master comes and he's like, you who had 10 talents, you get 10 cities, and you are very generous. You who made 5 talents, you get 5 cities. And it's like, good grief, that's very generous. But it is very different. And so here's a question, like how is it that we're all in some sense paid the same wage on the last day and we all get different talents corresponding to what we've done? Or in this case, different amounts of cities. I mean, it's a parable, it's an illustration. I don't think it's going to correspond to actual cities. Maybe it will, who knows? But some kind of different reward on the last day. And the solution to this is not really a solution, but something that I found helpful is that the Bible describes the church as a body. And in the way a body works is that you have hands, feet, arms, eyes, legs, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, sorry. And with a body, every part has the whole body. They get the same inheritance, as it were. The hand, my hand, has the rest of my body. It has the benefits from my heart. It has the support from my feet as I walk. It has everything. My feet, they get the benefit of my hands when I'm like, scrubbing my feet. How gross is that? Or like if I have a cut or something, I can get a plaster and benefits from my hand. Both my hands and my feet, they benefit from my heart. My heart supports my hands and my feet. If I do some cardiovascular exercise, you'll actually find, my hands and my feet are creating some demand for oxygen, and that causes my heart to pump harder and get stronger. So in a sense, my heart is benefited as well. And there's just this beautiful interdependence. And I think that parallels the way in which we on the last day will receive the same reward, but it will be a bit different for each of us. It'll be as though one person were a heart. They supported so many people, and they see on the last day all the people that they'd loved, and they are basically happy that they've seen the fruit of their labor come to fruition. And yet, we all benefit from the fruit of their labor. It's the same reward. We all share in the fruit of someone's ministry. And in the same way, if someone just speaks a very encouraging word to a child, just like giving them what they need to I don't know, like they're suffering in some way, or like some vulnerable person is suffering in some way, and they just do the small act of kindness, and perhaps they even come to know Christ that way. Everyone gets to enjoy the benefit of that. But the person who gave that cup of water or whatever it was that helped that person in a vulnerable situation gets to enjoy it in a unique way. And I think that's how the two come together. So that's a very short answer, and very short compared to some of my longer form videos. But I hope that at least is helpful, because it's a beautiful thing that the way that the church is a body completely, it's just such a beautiful image, and I think it's very rich, and we do well to meditate on it, even in questions of like, seemingly innocuous, like how will we receive the same reward in different rewards. Hope you have a lovely day, and God bless. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.